Tokenization show that we have every week. I'm Miguel Aleixo. I'm the Managing Director and Co-Founder of BRIK VC Projects. We tokenize properties, real estate properties here in Australia, specifically focus around A-class real estate. We've got our current BRIK Koala token series in Brisbane, a Brisbane property. So basically, we're playing our bit and trying to educate the world around what is real estate tokenization, because it is a new frontier. It's very early, so we try to chip in where, in terms of Jake and I, doing this show every week, and we bring on special guests come on. Trying to play our part in educating on real estate tokenization, but also in terms of the chain that we're also minting on, the Ravencoin blockchain. Is where we're minting on, so a bit of awareness around what's happening there and all the various things. Jake, you want to just introduce yourself and a bit about you?
Yeah, sure. Someone just let them know when I'm done. My name is Jake Menard. I am project manager for Dwell Homes Inc. and chief finance officer of Renewal Blocks, a Bitcoin mining company. I'm very happy to be here co-hosting with BRIK today. I'm looking to tokenize some rental properties in Illinois, which is in the Midwest U.S. The project is currently in the planning stages, and we're hopefully going to be starting construction of at least one of the properties this summer.
Great. Jake had finished. I don't know if you heard, Rick.
No, I didn't hear, but that's great. Matt, so I invited Matt along today, so Matt and I, we discuss. Matt is actually a BRIK Koala token holder. We've had various discussions in terms of what he does. We've probably seen Matt quite a lot in the Braveland auctioneering NFTs. That's not his day job. That's his bit to actually help the Ravencoin community in terms of trying to bring awareness and trying to help the NFT artists. And so I thought it'd be, given that Matt is a professional trader in terms of cryptos, DeFi, NFTs, and everything else investment related in terms of property tokens and so forth. But I thought it'd be great to have Matt on today to just go through some of the fundamentals in terms of what he does and talk a bit about real estate that sort of relates back to real estate. So Matt, yeah, take it away. Is that a bit about you?
A little bit about myself. I'm almost 40. I grew up very quickly. I grew up in an age where most of you, I don't think, grew up at, where we didn't have the internet. And, I just got numbers real fast. My father retired when he was 28 from his restaurant, from working 10 years, 100-hour weeks. But he was always into trading, and, that was his thing after he retired. So I took a liking to it, and really, they would used to send us these option blue book weeklies, and they'd have to make it on the shitty paper just so they could fit in 2,500 or 3,000 different charts for that week. And he would catch me on the floor for 3 hours going over every chart and telling him what I like. And I just fell in love with it. That's kind of how I got my start as far as trading, and then I started investing at a really young age and started trading at a young age and started understanding technicals and spending time with guys like Abby Glasser from Oppenheimer and Sandra Mansky from Maxim, and people that I've known for a while through the family business. I was in the restaurant business before, but once I realized exactly who I was, I went back to trading, left the restaurant business, and never looked back. I fell down the DeFi rabbit hole about 2 years ago, more or less. I'd say 2 years ago, and I fell hard. And I've really taught myself something, and it takes a lot of studying, but I've taught myself something that apparently 99.8% of the world doesn't know, but they're going to have to know. I'm able to drive yields home at the end of the year, compounded on some coins for 4,000, 5,000%. Because in DeFi, when they're launching networks, they do airdrops. And when you're on a central exchange, you don't get any of those airdrops. So that's kind of how I fell in love with DEXs, decentralized exchanges, as opposed to centralized exchanges. and that's how it got me really into DeFi. But Ravencoin is my first love. I fell in love with Ravencoin immediately because of the tokenization. And the fact that you can send money for such a small amount, I mean, less than a penny. Can everyone hear me?
Yep, all good, Matt.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I cut out for a second. I discovered Ravencoin, fell in love with it, fell in love with the community. I thought the community was amazing. Started purchasing NFTs, I would say in early 2001, after I listened to Michael's podcast with Synth. And that's Synth's my boy. I love Synth. I love his work. I think he's our little interactive Picasso. But that's the blockchain I chose because I was most comfortable with it, number one. Number two, I saw the biggest upside comparatively to where we were trading at as a market cap at that time. 3, being open source, and 4, the gas fees. We didn't have to pay any gas fees. And Gwei in the ETH market at that time was ridiculous. But I fell in love with some of the NFT artists on Ravencoin and really started amassing a collection. But I also diversified into about 4 or 5 other chains as well. I'm not shilling anything, just to say that Solana, I got into XTZ, Tezos. I got into ETH, Ravencoin, and then to IBC on DeFi. IBC is interblockchain communication or comparability, meaning, like, for example, Kepler Wallet and Osmosis DEX via Cosmos SDK. They enable blockchains to speak to each other via Kepler's IBC wallet that normally you would need a bridge to get to. So, for example, I can go now and use like Gravity DEX, which is connected to Osmosis, and I can swap ETH for Bitcoin or BNB for whatever chains. It's really amazing what they're doing, and now they've launched NFTs, and some of their artists are amazing, and they're offering, utility like 10% each back on each NFT you own if you stake with the staker that they have to deal with. The validator that they have to deal with. So there's so much upside, and I own, like, let's say 3 Juno knots, so I get 30% back on what they would normally be taking from their sales on commission. 30% back total for myself just for owning their Juno knots. But my whole plan for NFTs was collect the rookies. So, like, you can ask the artists in Ravencoin. I asked every one of them, where did you first appear on the blockchain, the ones that I fell in love with? Because I believe these are going to be like baseball cards. And you're going to look at the rookies. And if White Hat, such as, or DGen, or any of them blow up, they're going to say, I want the pieces where they first appear. What blockchain did they first appear on? That's the way I feel about NFTs, and I think the utility is being played down right now. It's just the market just got oversaturated for the total addressable market that's out there currently for NFTs, and I think that's why you're seeing this little drop as well. People want to hold on to their ETH or their Ravencoin or whatever they have right now, as opposed to purchasing NFTs. And I think that's, helping with the slowdown. And you're lacking a lot of liquidity in NFTs now. So I've seen people take massive losses just to get, money. So this is just what I've seen going on in the NFT market, and I do that after trading. But I'm up 4 a.m. I trade up pre-market 4 a.m. and do my exercise thing. I have my routine, and I trade through the day through to 4 p.m. I was just watching Jay Powell before about an interest rate hike, the Fed meeting, and they hiked a half a point. The market initially jerked down hard. Big sell-off, it looked like, and the market exploded to the upside. So it's been an exciting day, and if you guys follow me, you know I have a big NVIDIA trade. It's smoking right now, but I'm happy to be here with you. I can do, many things at once, and BRIK asked me to be here, kind of share my story and experience. But when I found BRIK's token, that to me was the first time on Ravencoin where I saw complete utility, and complete art as well, which offered a secondary market as well on the tokens. And I fell in love with that, and being able to sit in my house and purchase, tokenized real estate international from wherever I want. Because in 6 months, I think you're going to be hearing things in Asia and other countries. This hasn't even started to blow up, and just the fact that you're here is like you're winning already. I just want to let everyone know that. I mean, I want to learn something new every day, and I do from a lot of you guys that I follow on Twitter and stuff. But that's the mindset I have, and I've just started my NFT project, and I'm documenting it, and I started a YouTube channel and just go for it. But it is very tough to do, and I think this is the perfect time to work on something like that, especially in this market. It's tough to sit on your hands, but I know a lot of successful people, and patience is really what people lack, and self-awareness. And when you can get a grip on that, you can see the big picture, and always play with money that you can afford to lose and be okay with in the next day. Always.
It's great, man. It's a great roundup in terms of your background, and I love your passion. I mean, I know you've got the Italian blood in you, and always comes across your passion at the things you're doing, and the restaurant game. Hearing about the restaurant background, I can just imagine that those times that the passion would have been as equal in the restaurant game when you're involved with that with your dad.
And my sister too. Forget about it. It's a funny story too. One day. But self-awareness, like I said, yes. I knew. My father was a legend, honestly. He passed away in 2016 from sarcoma, but he was a legend down here, and it's tough to live up to that. But when I finally said to myself, this isn't me. Like, I don't want to do this manual label from 7 a.m., and work till midnight. Like, I don't want to do that. And when I finally said, like, that's not me, my life changed. And I think we lack self-awareness a lot, but when we can gain it, it just gives us such a different perspective on life. I've never had a better relationship with family, not to get too deep, but that's the way. I just think in life that, we take our journeys for certain reasons. And I'll add one more thing. 6 months ago, about 4 months ago, I dared myself, give yourself 6 months and see what happens. Like, kind of lock yourself in. Don't lock everybody out, but kind of just put your head to the grind and just do your thing 6 months and see what happens. And some of the most amazing things have happened. And some of my failures have been amazing that I've learned from, that have been worth it. But that's just what I kind of wanted to add and from there. But that's just a little bit about me.
That's nice, man. I will probe you some questions after. But that's a great journey that you've had, and hearing some of the things that the restaurant games and in some of your obviously your early beginnings in terms of on the blockchain. Thank you so much for that for the overview. And again, this is why I wanted to have Matt on, to highlight some of the things that he's doing. And sometimes when we see Matt as the auctioneer on Braveland, and again, I was just trying to remind people that's not his day job. That's his bit to trying to help the community, But great, and I'm actually looking.
I was going to say, I really did want to help. I really enjoyed those options, I have to say. They were a little bit of work, but I enjoyed them. Unfortunately, I think it was because Twitter's algorithms and not because of the community that, when I would put out polls and only 3 people would answer, it wasn't because it was the community. It really, I figured it out. Even though we're small, it was because of Twitter's algorithms, and we're going to have to figure, somebody's going to have, I'm sure someone knows this, but somebody has to figure out and let us know, how do we get around these algorithms? Because I know if you listen to Gary Vee a lot, he'll tell you how to get around Snap's algorithms and Insta's algorithms. So there has to be a way for all Ravenites to be able to reach each other. Reach each other. And if I disappear, it's not blaming on Raven. I want to bring people to Raven. That's kind of why I've tried to be chain agnostic as well. So I just wanted to add that. Sorry.
Nice. And that's the thing. And as you say, you've involved other chains, but then that's also that awareness as you obviously communicate with other people and other chains, and you obviously sometimes get talking about the Ravencoin chain. It provides also that awareness for other people and other chains. Maybe this also could is something they should consider, because at the end of the day, I'm a big believer that you can't just focus on one chain, especially if you're an NFT artist. It's a bit different if you're obviously tokenizing the property on chains and obviously using the Ravencoin chain. But I think it's critical that for an NFT artist to have that ability to be minting on different chains, just to de-risk their perspectives, especially if you're relying on that as your business to feed your family and provide all the things that for life that on your journey. You need to de-risk. You need to treat it like a business, and you need to have more than one chain. And again, whether it's you're a Ravencoin as your core and having a couple of other ones, or if you have if you're on Solana or Cardano or whatever the case may be, having Ravencoin as your other chain to mint on. But that's such a critical thing. And I think sometimes we just get so bogged down on just the one chain if you're an NFT artist. But yeah, just like that, just my thoughts around that. But yeah, look at. I'll have some questions, probably for the people that here that don't sort of know what real estate tokenization is. Just I always start with the basic fundamentals, and I'll always go back to on the presumptions that people that are coming here for the first time, because we're recording and hearing this for the first time, and basically going very much back to basics as to one, what is the blockchain. And I always say blockchain, I'll keep it very simple. Blockchain is somewhere where basically you look at it as a database. If you go back in the history, there was a database. There used to be in the accounting game. There used to be a thing called the big cash book, the big green cash book, where you recorded all your incomes and expenses. Well, that was a database in a very manual way back many years ago. And then came the computer, where basically we were able to then store stuff on the hard drive of so was it your local your local computer, or what I mean a server computer that you recorded data. That was a database. Then came cloud a few years ago, around about 20 years ago I think it was. Came the cloud, and we were able then to actually use the cloud, record it in the virtual servers, be able to record data on the cloud. And then came Bitcoin 12 years ago, where this thing called blockchain came along, and we were able to then now record things on the blockchain. Again, it's just another database, but this database is obviously, as we know, a bit more sophisticated, where it's a bunch of computers around the world that are all linked together, and they're all verifying, make sure the data there's all correct, and you can't change once the data goes on the blockchain. You can't change it. So that's just basically what is the blockchain. So it's just another data. I call it a fancy word for a database. It's another database, but a much more sophisticated database. And basically, in terms of where the recording of real estate property tokens, that's where it goes on the database, the blockchain database. So in terms of the actual real estate tokenization, again, in terms of what is it? It's just basic fractionalizing a property ownership into different pieces, and anybody from around the world can actually own one of those pieces, i.e. a property token, and that ownership of that property token gets recorded on the actual blockchain database. So there's the transparency, no one can change it, no one can question. Once you own it, it's on there. So that's pretty much in a crust what is real estate tokenization, taking it back to a very simplistic way of understanding what it is. So I thought that just got that out of the way. Just in terms of update what's happening in terms of real estate tokenization, there's obviously a lot of activity. I've been saying that 2022 is the year of property in terms of asset tokenization, but also real estate tokenization. This is where I think we're starting to see a lot of activity. Starting to see people starting to look in terms of I've done property. Maybe this is where I should be doing in terms of taking the next step into providing access to anybody around the world through tokenizing real estate. So there's quite a movement that I'm seeing, and obviously me being at the forefront and seeing some of the players that are looking into it, And just to give you some idea, as an example, so actually yesterday I was on Zoom talking to somebody in Europe. They're looking at tokenizing a project in Amsterdam. And that project there, you're talking about around $200 million. It's a mixed project, so you've got residential, you've got commercial to it as well. It's a really impressive project. I was talking to the founder yesterday, and they're just trying to get their thoughts about where they should be tokenizing. What's the process, where they should be tokenizing. And again, it's quite interesting because they were thinking ETH straight up, because there no questions, like I did last year when we were going through our process last year. And they were basically say, well, where should we be tokenizing? I said, well, we've actually switched to the Ravencoin chain. These are the reasons why. So there's these massive projects now people are looking at, and that this one here is just not one. They've got two others of similar size around in terms of what they're wanting to do, and these are like impressive projects in that sort of high end sort of mixed development side of things. Really impressive, and again, this is what I'm saying, that I know I've been quite vocal on some of the Ravencoin spaces and chats and so forth, in terms of people start questioning in terms of the price and just sort of being not going anywhere and what have you. And I said just be patient, because there's a massive wave of tokenized real estate projects coming onto the Ravencoin chain, which will have a massive impact on the chain, and you just got to be patient because the thing is, a lot of people out there that the Ravencoin chain is not just about NFTs. We're going to see this massive wave of property projects coming on, and the guys at SDA Markets, they do a fantastic job in terms of promoting and being the big advocates of the Ravencoin chain. So again, this is what I've been saying. Let's all support the SDO market guys with Kyle and Herwig and their team and the girls, because the more support we give them, the more we become front of mind in terms of when they're advising their clients, because they got their advisory part of their business, when they're advising their clients where they should be tokenizing their properties on, or even just in general, asset tokenization in general. So, and this is why I've been very vocal around that in terms of let's support the people supporting us, because what happens. It's all tides rise, right? In terms of when tides rise, all boats rise, and we all benefit from that. So, but yeah, just to sort of give an update in terms of what's happening and things I'm seeing, and Jake, probably from your perspective, I know I can't hear you. Do you want to just sort of give an update in terms of what you're seeing from your perspective? And I know also give an update while you're out of it in terms of the renewal box. You're going to be on DigiShares this month on their webinar. So I'll chuck it over to you, Jake.
Yeah, sure. I know you probably can't hear me, but I will speak anyways. Mattheo, if you want to let them know that I'm speaking.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So my perspective on the property tokenization, real estate tokenization, it's definitely gaining traction. I hear more and more people talking about it every week. Every time we have these spaces, I see one or two new faces. I see some more returning faces, but that's mostly in the Ravencoin community. But it is good I like to follow a lot of the security token market teams, security token advisor teams. They seem to be teaming up with lots of larger publications to do reports and publish findings, which is just going to get more eyes on this environment overall. And so that's my perspective at the current state. It is definitely growing. It has not reached escape velocity yet, but it's getting there. In terms of renewal blocks, something I can speak about that real quick, since BRIK welcomed it. We're a Bitcoin mining company that is tokenizing multiple assets. It'll be infrastructure, renewable energy, and land and structures. So we will be using DigiShares for our crowdfund and our initial token launch really soon. Hopefully within the next 6 to 8 weeks. We are just awaiting on a few final things on DigiShares side, but we are opening this up to basically all investors possible. We filed everything with the SEC that's allowing for all unaccredited investors to invest. within their legal limits, which we will be providing. But basically, once you invest in Renewal Blocks, you can own part of the Bitcoin mining farm, and you'll earn Bitcoin as distributions for the tokens you own. So it's something pretty revolutionary to just the token space overall. And we're also going to be issuing NFTs on the Ravencoin blockchain that will be going towards, the sales will be going towards security tokens that we'll be putting onto the side so that we can basically fund this NFT game that we're going to be doing. And we're going to be releasing a lot more info on that real soon. So we've got a combination of a Bitcoin farm that's 100% renewable energy. We're offering basically an NFT game based on some of the funds that are put aside for it, and also you get to own part of this farm overall. So it's very intuitive, and we're really excited to get it going, and we're also really excited to release stuff about the NFT game here really soon. Mattheo, if you want to let them know that I'm done speaking, you can let them know.
I'm going to add something. Jake's done, but you can see a pattern here, and if everybody wants to check out when they get time, Mir Protocol, they've tokenized equities. So, it's a way to purchase stock tokenized. The pattern that's forming is tokenization and decentralization. And it's something that is just in its infancy right now, but we're at the right place at the right time. Because I can see the pattern. It's forming, and I've really heard a lot of people show interest in the tokenization of real estate, but they need to be educated a little bit on it, like in regards to the fund and where the money goes for the rent and how that's going to be done. But I think the big thing too is we're also betting on creating NFTs, and besides that, like for BCon, you had to buy the NFT. The NFT got you into BCon, and then that NFT turns into a collectible. So, it's really amazing with the tokenizations and NFTs what's going on. So I just wanted to add the pattern that I see now with stocks. And you can buy puts and calls on Ethereum, wrapped Bitcoin, which is really exciting with hedging. So there's a lot of cool things you can do out there.
I'm actually getting Matt. Can you hear me, Matt? Because I use now saying that
I can
it's
hear
connecting to you, so I'm not too sure whether you can hear me, Matt.
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me? Jake, can you hear me? I think that Jake happened.
Yes, I can hear you, Matt.
That's so weird. Now Rick can't hear me. Maybe it's just because he's driving.
Else says. Because now I've actually lost. I can't hear Matt now.
Matt,
Sorry.
Do you still hear me?
Yeah.
So I'm not too sure whether you finished yet, Jake, or not. Might get JC might be able to help you.
Well, can you hear me now, Rick? Can you hear me now?
Hey, for whatever it's worth, I can hear Jake and Matt and BRIK.
Yeah. Oh, all three of us. That's so strange because now BRIK can't hear me.
JC, if you want to just let him know that me and Mattheo are done speaking, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, BRIK.
Sure.
It almost sounds, BRIK, like you're out of the loop. Everybody else can hear each other, it looks like. But anyhow,
it's connecting. It's still showing connecting. You, JC?
Yeah, I'm able to speak. Jake and Matt.
I'm sure they can hear me.
Can hear you.
No one can hear.
I'm just going to send him a direct message. What's going on?
Yeah, he can't hear any of us.
I've got Jake as a co-host, so I'm just going to log back in. Hopefully I'll fix the problem that I'm having from my end, and hopefully the session will continue to hold with Jake as co-host. So I just tried that. Hopefully that'll work. Apologies if it doesn't.
That may work. Hey, Jake, so while he's doing that, I have a question for you.
Fantastic platform, but geez, sometimes it's massive glitches on it.
Elon will fix it. You know he's not putting up with that. And you know that stock's not going to close at 52.50. He's going to make sure that he shows everyone, I got a great deal. Look, it's $60, bitches. Just my opinion.
I think this, the word's still out in terms of how that'll go, but we got to be open-minded.
For sure.
But, sorry, Jake, so much. Thanks for holding the ship up, mate. Just like, I don't know. Anyway, back on. So it's all good. I did share it around so people sort of can come back in. But, that's as like I said, I could not hear anything of you, Jake, and I'm sure you were sharing some great stuff. And hopefully I'll get to catch up.
I'm just glad that it worked out.
Yeah, that's good. But that's probably just wait a couple of minutes in terms of people have to give time to join in, and then we'll sort of continue. But as I was saying, that those guys in Europe, they're doing some massive projects and really impressive, and they're winning awards for some of the stuff that they're doing in the real estate, in that high rise mixed commercial space. Really impressive projects. So it blew me away when he showed me the stuff. But now they're just taking the next step, and they're just getting an understanding where they should be tokenizing. And the thing is, he was just saying it's going to be on the ETH platform, on the ETH blockchain. And I said, mate, just be open minded, because I had the same attitude when first DigiShares told us. Obviously there was an issue with gas fees and all the how last year things were going with ETH, and basically they came up with a solution, and they introduced Ravencoin to their platform to where their clients could mint on. And I still remember, I kid you not, I still remember the conversation that I had with Adam from Klaus's team, the DigiShares team, and also his assistant in India. That's part of their team. And when they first mentioned Ravencoin as being the alternative, and I said, no, it can't be Ravencoin. It's got to be this ETH, like Ethereum. People trust the Ethereum blockchain. It's got to be Ethereum. It has to be the Ethereum. So, and then then I sort of stood back, and so they sort of explained, and obviously went and done my research, it's and obviously seeing what Ravencoin can do, and that's why then obviously we were too far in, having already an ETH, and then obviously we switched across to Ravencoin as I sort of share the story, and that's what I was saying to this guy yesterday. So mate, just be open minded, because we basically switch, and we're committed to be on the Ravencoin for all our projects and going forward. And again, I think it's that education and awareness and about what Ravencoin can actually do, and I think the powerful thing is the ability to talk to people who have actually been right there from the beginning, and obviously like guys like Tron Black, to be able to have those conversations with people who actually created what we have today, the Ravencoin blockchain, is actually quite a huge thing, for. So again, hopefully that we agreed to keep in contact, because as they're sort of going through their stages and trying to get an understanding, and I sort of reached out to look, I'm here if there's anything I can help and answer any questions. I'm here to support, and so it's there's really great things happening in terms of in the real estate space, in tokenization. But JC.
I have a question for you guys, Jake or you, BRIK.
Sure.
I guess maybe it's a two-part question. The first part is, can you guys help me visualize or understand, maybe in categories, the main attractions? I guess that's the wrong way to say it. What are the main reasons why a person may want to tokenize real estate? And again, maybe just throw out a couple of examples. One of them is to handle the debt portion of it. Another one is to raise funds, but also distribute gains, and so on and so forth. Can you guys think of maybe what the 3, 4, 5 different groups are, and maybe kind of touch on them briefly?
Yeah, I mean, I can talk from my experience, and Jake might share after as well. I mean, from my experience, as you know, JC, look, as a CPA accountant, working here in Australia for over 25 years, working with businesses that have been either directly or indirectly involved in property and building and construction. So I've been right at the cold front, knowing and see what the problems are with people accessing real estate. So this is on two fronts, both in terms of these guys that are building stuff and trying to sell to the average person the stock, and also on the other side, seeing people wanting to buy stuff and the clunkiness of the banking system in terms that we have, in terms of the ability to borrow funds to buy property. So I've seen it sort of from different angles, and for us, we've always done property ourselves as a family. We've always, built property and renovated properties over the years, focusing totally on the residential space. But basically, that provided me an insight in terms of what real problems were out there. And I hate dealing with banks, but I've dealt with banks for 30 years in terms of my various businesses and with clients and so forth, and people I mentor, and I see it all the time. And so 2 years ago, basically, we thought, we could, and actually share this on the blog. We actually released our first blog during the week, and I sort of went into details as to the problems we were trying to solve. And the fundamentals of those problems were basically, people that want to, there's two groups of people. There's people in developed countries, like Australia and America and so forth, that the average person on the street to try and access to buy a real estate property is hard. It's becoming harder because obviously you've got two issues, two major issues. You've got property values continue to go up in price. And secondly, banks are obviously not lending as the policy to lend is becoming tighter and tighter. And some of the fundamentals around is also because people's income are not going up the same level as what property prices are going. So you have a look in terms of the average person's income, what they earn in terms of working. If you have a look over the last 10 years, it hasn't gone up that much. But you have a look at property values, like here in Brisbane, for example, they've gone up twice. There's no way people's wages haven't gone up twice that much. But property's gone up, they've doubled in the last 10 years. So I guess for us is how do we provide a solution to the average person on the street to be able to access property? These people will never be able to buy property themselves. And I guess this is the problem we were trying to solve in terms of, we can keep doing what we're doing, but let's now take what we're doing onto the blockchain and be able to fractionalize a property that can buy as little as $80 for one token to start their journey in real estate property. And they can buy more as they accumulate more, and they accumulate to other properties that are tokenized. So I guess that's the fundamentals as to what problem we were trying to solve, to provide access to anybody from all corners of the world. And I probably missed, and if we look at the second group of people in developing countries, they got far bigger problems than people in developed countries. Because some of these people in developing countries like South America, Africa, and some parts of Asia, these people have never banked before. And there's many reasons why they haven't banked before. One is basically, that their banking system's not there. Two, transaction costs. Some of the transaction costs charged to bank in these developing countries, it could feed a family for a week and some even a month. Some of the stories I've heard. So again, but they've got a mobile now. They've got a mobile phone, and a mobile phone is powerful with the internet. Now they can actually access anything on the blockchain, and that's powerful. So that's from my perspective what problem we were trying to solve, and for us again, providing our visions provide access to real estate to anyone around the world from all corners of the globe. That's our vision. Jake, in terms of you.
So BRIK, but the thing that I think is different about your approach, and maybe I'm wrong, is that although people can buy a BRIK token, they will own equity in your property, but not dividends or not income from the rentals. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the model we've got basically, and again, that started because from a compliance perspective, we couldn't pay out the rent out to token holders. So what we actually done basically is the net rent that's generated each month is actually invested into a crypto portfolio. because obviously on the blockchain, everyone will, if they don't understand, they'll understand what crypto currency is doing and will be doing. So the rent that's generated goes into the actual, the special purpose vehicle that owns the property will own the crypto portfolio. So each month, I think from memory is around $1,100 each month that's generated as net rent from the BRIK koala, and that gets invested straight into cryptocurrency projects. But
that makes sense.
But the thing is,
that makes sense. But what about somebody that wants cash?
Yeah,
why can't you do that?
Yeah, so basically, that has to be invested. So as I said, it's got to be invested in crypto. But don't forget, as the property token, it goes up in value. The property goes up in value. The cryptocurrency portfolio goes up in value. So how people get their money out is by actually selling their property tokens. So there's a secondary market. So we'll have our secondary market within our platform, so people can buy and sell between themselves. They can come on, new people can come on and actually buy the property tokens on a secondary market. We want to go, obviously, DigiShares, they're creating the real estate exchange secondary market. Once, I think we're probably around 6 months away from that, so we'll be looking at the list on that secondary market because we'll obviously have more liquidity. And sort of mid to long term, we'd like to see ourselves on T0 secondary market. So again, people might not be getting the rent each month, but they'll be able to, if they want to cash some profit in, they'll be able to actually sell some of their tokens if they want to cash some profit in. And that's obviously the indirect way of doing it, getting some money in their hands. Yeah.
So maybe we switch to Jake to some degree, I'm not sure, but if a person wanted passive income, so basically that's the main reason why a lot of people want to invest in real estate, right? Mm-hmm. So if somebody wanted to buy a token on real estate and receive passive income, why couldn't your business model, BRIK, be adopted? Or maybe that's what Jake is doing, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know with ours started with the compliance. So when I worked out the model we needed to have to be compliant here in Australia, we could not pay income out of it because it would just breach some of the rules within our Australian legislation. So again, it started off as a negative, but we actually turned that into a positive by actually, it is what it is, and we can't help it because that's just the compliance side of things. But basically, we can still have our cake and eat it too by investing into a crypto portfolio that's going to increase, obviously, the token of value as a result. But people, if they want to cash in, they can cash in some of their tokens to be able to get some money in their hands. Jake, did you want to sort of continue on that? I think Jake's...
Yeah, sorry, I got rugged right at the point when you guys were going to have me speak. My apologies for that. So I'll probably touch on a couple of things here that you already touched on, BRIK. You can hear me, right?
Yeah, but him, JC, am I having the same problem again as before?
I can hear you, Jake. He was speaking.
I can hear Jake, and I can hear BRIK.
Okay. So go on, Jake.
Just let him know.
I can't hear you, Jake, but yeah, please go on.
So basically, my initial thoughts, there's two things on this, right? So what BRIK is doing is offering equity on properties already owned or properties that are already in the process of being purchased or being built based on the risk that the company took on initially. And then you can offer, so let's say I build a home for $1 million. I can, basically, and I'm looking to sell it in 10 years. I can offer, let's say the loan I took out was $1 million too, right? I could issue tokens for equity for $1 million or maybe $1.2 million. So I make a little bit off of my risk. I'm de-risking myself and profiting off of my work while, issuing the ownership to everyone else. So everyone else can benefit from that. I'm the one managing the sale at the back end. Or you don't have the money to purchase a property or maybe some land, maybe a commercial real estate or something, and you are looking to crowdfund it. So you can crowdfund, into the real estate, and now you have partial ownership, and whoever is the person actually running it in person, they're like, the founder of the project. They'll be the ones that everyone's kind of trusting. There's a little bit of trust in that kind of stuff. Real estate sales, aren't trustless because in-person sales cannot be trustless until the government starts to recognize digital deeds and stuff like that, which is going to be far down the road. But those are my two things. So either, building out and then, de-risking and issuing equity, or crowdfunding something that you can't afford yourself and offering everyone else ownership based on a business plan you set forth. So that's something we're not sure if we're going to do one or the other with Dwell Homes yet. We got to figure out if we are going to be able to, because we're trying to do a pretty large-scale project, about 40 homes. It's going to be pretty tough for us to come up with that money. So if we can crowdfund it, maybe not crowdfund, maybe we do Reg A. I think Reg A would be something we would need to do. Reg CF only does $5 million for 12 months, but we'll see how that goes once we get there. So we'll be able to figure that out hopefully within the next few months. Those are my perspectives on the things.
Thank you, Jake. So, Jake, in your from what you know, could real estate be tokenized and dividends be issued in cash, like passive income, in the U.S.? I realize maybe not in Australia, but in the U.S., could it be done?
So, really, if you're going to be earning dividends or distributions, because I say distributions because LLCs give out distributions, and then corporations give out dividends. So, like Renewablocks is an LLC, and we will be giving out Bitcoin distributions, similar to paying employees. So, in the U.S., or I guess in general in this stuff, the tokens you're purchasing, I would not say are for each piece of land. If they're rental properties, that's how cash flow is, right? Cash flow helps generate dividends or distributions. So kind of owning a piece of land and just letting it sit there, you're not going to be able to pay out any dividends. But owning multiple rental properties, or even just one, is going to offer an opportunity for dividends. So when you're buying tokens that are linked to assets such as property, real estate, land, anything of that sort, you're going to be earning dividends through that if you own part of the company. So if Dwell Homes were to tokenize itself instead of tokenizing the properties, which is possibly what we would do, Dwell Homes would be issuing dividends, not 100% earnings to dividends ratio, or dividend to earnings. It may be 50%, it could be 20%, because the company needs to retain some of that cash flow to grow and scale and make the dividends more worthwhile over time. But it wouldn't really be possible to tokenize the rent, right? You need to tokenize the profit and success of the company that is managing the properties. That's how I see it in the long run. And that's kind of how we're doing it through Renewablocks. You're earning whatever Renewablocks earns, you'll be earning through that based on the Bitcoin that is mined, right? You're not earning it per ASIC. That'd be really hard to do. You're not like, I'm going to buy the tokens for ASIC number 72. We're going to wrap it up into one whole thing, and it's the company. So similar to how a publicly traded company runs now.
But there's no reason why it couldn't be done in the U.S. I realize in Australia maybe you can't, but in the U.S. you should be able to tokenize something and earn or get distributions, cash distributions, not crypto.
Yes. Especially through DigiShares. They offer distributions or dividends in USD, BTC, RVN, Ethereum, anything you desire. So yeah, it is possible. That's good. So like we were thinking that for Renewablocks we were gonna have to do it through USD or maybe USDC. But we talked to our legal specialist and he said Bitcoin is very possible, or very it's legal.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Just because it's not dividends, it's because it's distributions, which is why we had to stick with being an LLC.
Yeah. So the second part to the question, sorry, the first one was so long. So I am looking at a development where I'm getting a big loan, and it's going to be a cash flow type of development, real estate development, and I have not looked into tokenizing it because part of the reason why I don't want to tokenize it is I don't want to share ownership of it. I want to own it all. So the only function that I see for tokenizing it would be to finance the loan, to eliminate the bank.
You're absolutely right. Here, can you let BRIK know that I'm answering this at the moment?
Yeah, BRIK, Jake is going to answer this part.
All right, so you're absolutely right. Not everything has to be tokenized, just like not every company has to be public, right? Elon is taking Twitter private. So, because he doesn't need help, right? He doesn't need people to fund stuff for him. So, if for your development, if you're taking out a big loan for this development, right, and you see yourself or the company having the viable means to manage this loan and make the necessary payments, and it's not going to put you too far behind in other business terms, or maybe it won't take away any opportunities for cash flow in order for you to scale or through other business ventures, then you're fine. Manage the loan yourself. There's no reason to give up equity on this unless you sell it at a premium, right? So you can sell the tokens for technically whatever you want. Your initial offering, whether it's tokens or shares, they can be for whatever you want. But the market will find the fair value of it, the market value of it eventually, if you overpriced it or underpriced it. If you're not able to handle the loan, or maybe you're thinking this loan that I took on is or maybe you haven't taken it on yet, you are going to take it on, or you're looking to take it on. This loan may be too high risk, too much risk appetite for me. It's not quite what I'm looking to deal with. I want to divvy up ownership and help pay off the loan. So now the business is running with less, or maybe just yourself. You have less payments to make monthly, and then people own part of the thing, and now you run this successful business with a lot less risk on your hands. So does that answer the question?
Yeah, but thank you, and that's a really good explanation. So if I just want to tokenize the loan itself, then I have a hard time seeing how Xander or Matt would be interested in it, because the benefit is only the current market rate, which is probably somewhere like 5.5%, and those guys, Matt and Xander, are used to seeing 15, 20, 25%, 30, right? So how can I attract them?
So all
I want to do is the loan.
Whatever the development you said is possible, cash flow possible.
Well, actually,
right?
on the show last week, we actually briefed the second part in Spanish. There was some guys out of the US. There was a lady and a guy. There was a mother and son, actually, that they both were on the show. And she's actually involved in, she's a mortgage broker over in the US, and she was asking some stuff around the debt side of things in terms of tokenizing debt side of things. And I know Jason made a few comments about in terms of, because as you know, the STO market guys, they've got an advisory part of their firm to their business. And so they're actually helping people that are looking at, wanting to tokenize the debt side of things of a property. And I know they've got, it might not be actually, I think there's just the whole ecosystem around there that they actually, we might think, well, how can we attract somebody to invest in a debt, tokenized debt? But these guys are dealing with some of the big players, and I'm sure that, I don't know the nitty-gritties, but it'd probably be a good conversation to have with Jason or Kyle at STO Market around that. Because they're at the cold front. But in terms of tokenizing debt, they're actually at the cold front in dealing with
Thank you. So, Jake was trying to say something as well. Is it okay if we listen to him?
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so you said this venture could be cash flow positive, right?
Yeah.
All right, so if I were you, you retain ownership, retain the deed of the property as whatever company or entity you are owning the property under, and you tokenize you should be creating an entity for this to de-risk yourself personally. If this is a large enough venture, then you tokenize the entity, the company, the LLC, whatever it is. Tokenize that. I wouldn't tokenize the loan personally. I think that's a little too convoluted for some people. And just owning part of the company, if it's cash flow positive, the company's taking in the cash flow. That's a way to make it a lot easier for people to grasp, and it's a lot less work for you personally. That's how I see it.
So what would be the incentive, though? Because, again, what I'm saying is I only want to, whether it's through the LLC or through the tokenizing the debt, the only thing I want from this process personally is the financing. And then so what can I offer in return to an investor if the competitive rate is the bank at, call it 6%, right?
Well, if you're not able to offer a percentage higher than that, I probably wouldn't be, offering ownership of the company. Or, if you're, whatever you're looking into, if you really think that's not anything under that percentage is unattractive, it probably isn't the best venture. You'd be better just loaning your money out through other ways. But, it's good to be business, to run businesses. It's good to grow. It's good to, because you never know where they're going to lead, right? The returns could grow. Something can happen. You've learned something new or something like that. But you're right. So the incentive is, if it's lower, probably don't tokenize. But if it's higher, the incentive is just owning part of a profitable company. And there's tons of profitable companies all around that could potentially tokenize, and they just aren't because they don't know the technology or exists yet. So does that answer the question? So the incentive is owning a profitable company, higher than the risk-free rate, basically.
Just wanted to say, coming from the equity side, that tokenized corporate debt, that kind of stuff, that's coming, but that will be in the latter half. The first thing, I know exactly what you're talking about. I wanted the passive income every month too, JC, same thing. But I understood with the restrictions for BRIK and legislative risk and regulatory, all that crap. But it is coming because I know exactly what you're talking about, and you should be able to do that very soon once we get some more regulatory clarity. Just wanted to add.
So, thank you guys. I'm gonna repeat some of that just for the sake of BRIK because he's just listening to some of the conversation. But and maybe in repeating it, I confirmed that I understood what you were saying. But it sounds to me like, if a person in my position who is developing a project is going to get a loan and wants to retain 100% ownership, then the only reason to tokenize debt would be, or maybe not the only reason, but the practical manner in which a person can tokenize debt is if we can offer a higher interest rate than the bank can. And at this stage in this market, and currently how we're dealing with crypto, it appears that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me to offer higher interest rates sufficiently to attract somebody like Matt or Xander to it. But having said that, BRIK, it sounds like the STO guys are at least in the loop on some ways of doing that, and maybe it's worth not abandoning the concept just yet.
Worth a conversation, JC. I mean, you spot on what you said. But the guys, they're very much at the cold front of in terms of fractionalizing debt, tokenizing debt. So probably worth having a chat with Jason or Kyle. I know Jason was talking about it last week, and Jason is also involved on the advisory side of their business at the STO market. So maybe just reach out to them. I'll consider DM to both of you and sort of continue the conversation for to sort of you have a chat with them about it. If that's I can do that if you like. Because like I said, it was something off topic last week that we sort of spoken towards the end of the session. But the thing is, at the moment, as Matt was saying, I think it is a bit hard at the moment in terms of, and I think it'll be like, you think some of the DeFi rates and people staking staking some of the cryptos and getting some ridiculous, as we all done. I mean, you're picking up 25% returns, 30%, 50% returns on some of these DeFi projects. I guess it becomes a bit hard to compete with those sort of rates on the debt front.
Try 1,000% non-comp because they have to secure the network. And nobody understands that. This is why they do that and they offer that. But the APY goes down as more stakers, as more coins are staked. One thing I did want to add, as far as like passive income, I think in the United States, I think for JC, what's going to happen is we're going to be able to stake our coins, let's say, in the tokenization of real estate, and I think by us staking it, like they can create a coin, like I don't know Jake's company, but Dwellos or some DWL, a token DWL, that by putting our tokens up that we own of let's say the residential home, that we can get the passive income in the DWL coins by staking, meaning like we're not going to sell on the secondary market. There may be like a week lockup, but we would be able to get passive income that way via like a new token that, you know, only the holders would have access to. You know, that's just an idea. I see them doing that with NFTs. I stake a lot of NFTs now and get like Artem coins and a bunch of other coins, GFT coins. I see a lot of projects doing that.
Okay, that's NFTs, Matt. That's taking NFTs itself.
That's specifically NFTs, but I don't see that why that couldn't be for passive income, being that, like, let's just say that BRIK coin, instead of it just turning into shares, well, it acts as a utility, but let's say it acted as the shares, we could stake that, so you know that we're not going to be selling shares on the secondary market, and by doing that, you reward us with the passive income by that certain token, like the BRIK token, whatever we'll call it, let's just say. And I'll earn every month, like everybody that's a BRIK token holder for Koala, let's just say, if it was legal, or Jake's project, would get whatever they staked amount of shares they staked in your new token that you created to do that passive income. I think that's more for the U.S. laws.
I think there's some things that are happening. That's fantastic, Matt. Because I think there's also in line with that, there's some things happening, not so much on NFTs, but more on the property side of things. I know DigiShares with their real estate exchange, that the secondary market, and they got a partnership with Balancer, and they're developing some great things in that space. And some of that stuff is about staking. I haven't actually looked at the details. I still have to have a session with the guys at Real Estate Exchange, which is obviously a subsidiary of the DigiShares. So I'm going to actually sit down with them and go through the finer details in terms of the platform and the mechanics and all the nitty-gritties around it, because all I know, I've sort of seen some of the stuff and I read some of the stuff that Balancer is involved. And again, I'm pretty excited about it, even just the small details I've seen. I'm pretty excited about that space, what they're creating, that secondary market. It's more than just a secondary market for property tokens. There's a few few extra things involved in that space as well. So once I know, I'll share it around in terms of what it is. But
the royalties. Do you guys get royalties for, like, are you going to try to push secondary market trading because of royalties? And that might be something you may be able to pay back to shareholders eventually when they cash out, or?
Yeah, I think we've got to be careful in terms of, again, passing income out, because
gotcha.
Issues,
Well, no, I was talking like when they sell their share, like if they decide to sell their shares, and you said there's going to be a fund that will be growing, so it grows along with, I guess, the proportional shares. That's what I was kind of using it in that context. But I know it's a slippery slope with you in Australia.
It's one of those things, but it's like, okay, we've got the solution. I don't want to fuck up the solution, be blunt, in terms of being offside with the authorities here. I know it works because obviously I've tested it out in various ways. We just can't get too cheeky and actually get outside the parameters, and then basically compromises everything. But the thing is with the DigiShares, with that secondary exchange that they're doing, the real estate exchange, I'm really excited about what they're doing there. And again, as we speak, they're actually building it as we speak. So I'm really excited to find out the finer details of it. And I actually was on the messaging with Klaus last week, and we're talking about that. And so really excited about what they're doing there, because, again, it provides more liquidity for our token holders by going to that secondary market. But Matt, in terms of from your perspective, mate, I know we're going a bit over time, but look, if you guys don't mind, just because we had a few glitches, and I really want to maximise the time with Matt here to making sure that I get to probe him some of the things I got here to ask him, and so for him to sort of share from his experiences. So, Matt, in terms of if you were to look at the day-to-day in terms of your activity as a professional trader, where are you spending sort of percentage-wise? If you were to split up, where you're spending most of your time, is it DeFi spending majority of your time in terms of how you're trading?
So, no. As far as active trading, it's always going to be in the equity market and derivatives market, futures, commodities. I shouldn't say always, but that's always going to be my main markets to trade in. I don't trade DeFi. Hello?
So that's your. Sorry, I'm going to say that's your core in terms of what you do. Yeah.
No, I also do. I don't trade DeFi like I do the equity market. Let's just say that, and I think it's because it's 7 days a week, and then I get a little more patience. Like I said, patience is everything in trading. But my main job, how I live, how I've been doing this for 20 plus years, is trading in the equity market and the derivatives market, and learning technical analysis at such a young age. But what I do in DeFi is I'm always active because I'm always grabbing rewards. I'm grabbing airdrops. I had a $5,000 airdrop for Evmos that just nice. I had like 6 airdrops this week in DeFi. So just a lot of great stuff, and knowing what's going to happen, being aware, like knowing what drops are going to come, like what I have to stake, that kind of stuff. But as far as DeFi goes, like GameFi, I'm in certain plays, but Cosmos is my heart, Raven Coin is my heart. But I believe, for me personally, like it's the equity market. That's where I do the majority of my trading. But I would say allocation wise, I'm about 80% via stock, common stock, and then I would say 20% to options. I believe having a defined risk, especially at a time that's very volatile like we have right now with regulatory risk, legislative risk, interest rate risk. I mean, every geopolitical risk, every risk that you can't mitigate is we're up against. So when you have a defined risk and an options play, and you stay close to the money and pay a little premium, I think that's better because, it could go down 25% the next day. Everybody's getting margin calls. They lose all their money. Well, you only lose the 600 because you bought 3 calls. That's what I like about it at this time. So I use a lot of derivatives also to hedge. I write a lot of covered calls. I do a lot of vert spreads, stuff like that. But there's such an opportunity in DeFi. I earn... just on like Stargaze, it's an NFT marketplace. You can check it out. It's IBC. But they're paying about 130% non-comp. So I can make up, without any capital appreciation, let's say 3,000% for the year. And plus I can restake for free. So when you can do all this for free, it's just huge. And to me, I'm seeing a lot of institutions now that are getting into the DeFi game and taking those yields and trying to take advantage. So, it's the place to be. And if you're not, especially now, because it's such a tough market and you don't really want to be in the bond market unless you're happy with 3% on the 10-year. If you can earn, 600%, 700% on a great coin, like an Osmo right now, it's at lows, really. Picking up coins, I think it's a great thing to do because even if you're down 25% for the year, you're still going to make money.
Absolutely.
So I can kind of end on that one.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Matt. That's again, it's when I came across DeFi 18 months ago. It blew my mind away in terms of what was happening in DeFi, and obviously having a hatred for banks, the clunkiness of the banking system. It reminded me in terms of where banks need to be in future. In terms if they don't move, DeFi is challenging so much in terms of that banking system. The ability to borrow money, to go and borrow money at a press of the button. And I've said this before, and I've said this to some guys around me in the traditional space in terms of finance and so forth. I said, I said, just mark my words on this. 5 years' time from now, a person will be able to actually go onto their mobile, borrow money, stake their property deed, and actually there'll be guys out there, there'll be platforms out there in DeFi. They can actually borrow money against your property and be able to have the money in your bank account at straight away. And that's the way things are going when it comes to DeFi. And unless the banks start to understand the new frontier, these banks are going to be left behind, because people like us, we're seeing it and we're educating people what you actually can do now. And again, banks obviously they've obviously got to play the game in terms of keeping governments happy, giving governments obviously hate blockchain and anything crypto, and I get that. But at the end of the day, they also need to address their business model by start moving and start understanding what's happening in DeFi. But
well, I just want to say there's about 130 billion locked in DeFi. I believe more or less. A couple. I'm sorry, 130 billion locked in DeFi. Right. So that's nothing in comp to the crypto market.
Yeah, and still the beginning. It's so early too, because it's as people start to understand. Like at a small scale, like I've been staking stuff on on crypto.com platforms and a few other platforms, but at a very small scale to get learnings 18 months ago, and I still play it. But but some of the stuff that you're doing, Matt, it's obviously at another level, because obviously you go right deep in some of these different projects out there. But
well, I noticed that playing around with the protocols is the best way to learn,
right?
And to really educate yourself on something that people really can't educate you on unless they do it. And that's how you get comfortable. And we're all going to screw up. And I've been hacked for 5 figures when I first got into DeFi, because stupidly I gave my seed phrase away like an idiot. But I was relentless, and because of the lockup in Osmosis DEX, it saved me I got 80% of it back from the hackers. Right. I was that fast. And I clock set around the clock when things were... But that, you just have to treat your seed phrase as your life. That's basically what you have to do in DeFi if you plan on taking the dive. But yeah, there's so much cool shit that we're doing. I mean, from owning digital horses with the DRK, which is really an interesting race, it's called. You can own and breed horses and then race them against other people to win crypto. I mean, there's so many amazing protocols, from Mir to where you can buy Amazon, Apple stock. It's really cool, and I think people should try more. And even writing covered calls on Solana and other names, you can do that with Friction. And these are all DeFi protocols that are going to reward you in the end. They're going to do airdrops. So I would just say play around with them.
You might have to send a few links of some of these decentralized platforms that you're into to share.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe you should create a new show, mate. Is there a show coming up? I hear.
Well, my NFT project. I told you I'm documenting the whole process, and I look like a nut because it's just you're working all the time. But yeah, that should be pretty funny.
Nice. So, Matt, in terms of obviously you shared with us in terms of some of the fundamentals and the things you're doing and where you've been focusing on. Traditionally, obviously, having Italian in your blood. Obviously, as all Italians, they always love real estate. They love the bricks and mortar, as most Europeans do. So, in terms of in the past and your outlook, in terms of where do you see what is proper real estate? Because you've traveled around the world, you've seen also different cultures. Probably share some of the things that you've been doing and things you've seen in different cultures that you've when you've been traveling around the world, and what is that in terms of going forward? Where does real estate sit in terms of your outlook as an investment?
Well, God certainly isn't making any more land. That's one thing we all can attest to. I think real estate's a must in a portfolio. It has its place. Not even talking about tokenization, but because you do get passive income in the States, I think real estate's a must. A lot of people use REITs. I think real estate as a whole is a very interesting times right now because you had a mass exodus from cities to suburban life because of the virus. And now you have a lot of people that have got, maybe, I don't want to call them hipsters, but you had a lot of like younger professionals that kind of moved in. And now it seems like you just have a different, a completely different dynamic going on right now. And I know this here in South Florida, we're having people from Illinois, New York, California. You see those plates primarily. A big exodus down here. So we have a huge supply. And with rates going up and steel and the cost of commodities now ridiculous. If you don't follow futures, nickel had like 6-7 days in a row where it went up limit or down limit. They had to stop trading on it because it was too. So like the steel, commodity, all that. The cost of building a home now is astronomical, but people are paying up, and I think the market's going to continue to do well. And I love Wisconsin. I love some of the Midwest that is just being built up, like Bloomington, Indiana. I never knew that was like the most inland Great Lake dock there is, and they do huge business. I mean, it's a really busy dock. But like the property there is just starting to move higher and higher and higher. I'm just noticing that like a flee from the cities for a lot of people. So for me, I'm looking in those depressed areas. Like I root for a recession. I'm a jerk, but I root for a recession. I believe everybody should have cash on the side, ready to be deployed. Like in 2008 and 2009, I believe Carlos Pena was involved in this too. But there was a lot of guys like the owner of the Patriots, Robert Kraft. They were buying real estate left and right up in Michigan, all on riverfront, all on the Great Lakes. Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois. They were buying it up for not $5,000, what people owed on the taxes, so they couldn't pay it. We go through bad times, but they offer amazing opportunity. I feel like the Midwest of the United States is the next spot to really boom. Especially with like my generation getting older, and like we're getting more conservative as we get older. So it's like you kind of just looking for your own space and your own spot. And speaking of land, there's plenty of it there. You can still have your American dream here. And as far as for international goes, I can't say I'm up to new laws and taxes, but as far as I think Australia is a must. It's a must. Especially with the Olympics coming to Brisbane in 32. Europe's a must. I actually am thinking about moving to Portugal next year or Puerto Rico, one of the two for sure. So I'm going to head up to Portugal and check things out there this year. But I actually, my family we still own it. You would say shit. It's a dump piece of property, but it's not a dump. But it's on an old town right on the mountainside. It's pretty, but it's in a really old town. The property, I think, went for €400,000, which we were shocked. But the problem with Europe is you have such a large population of people, and especially in the cities, like certain little 2-bedroom apartments in Rome go for over $2 million. It's ridiculous. $3 million. It's ridiculous. So I just think it's going higher because the Chinese are coming in and buying everything in Italy. My friends are telling me that all the time. So you got a lot of cash out there and a lot of buyers. Hello? Can everyone hear me?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Yeah. So I was just saying that's.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say. Just as far as in Europe, I have to go to Medellin in September for Cosmoverse 2022 with Crypto Cito. I'll be meeting them there, but I'll let you know how Colombia is in South America because you don't really know until you're around there either. But in South Florida, it's still doing pretty well. But I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. I mean, because I go onto a daily real estate show that mostly from there's Florida, there's California, so it's quite a bit of a mix. But from what I've been hearing, there is everybody's moving to Miami.
Well, we don't have any state tax. We don't have any state tax
really?
Here. Number one.
Is that when?
Yeah.
Is that when you buy properties, no state taxes?
Well, we don't have any. No, not estate. Yeah. We don't have any state taxes. Like we have federal tax here, but we don't have any state tax.
Right. Okay.
Like Georgia has like a 3% state tax on top of. We don't have any state income tax.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's a big benefit. Like if you go to Puerto Rico, which I do a lot of business out of there, we don't pay any capital gains taxes as long as somebody in our incubator fund is living there 183 days a year, which we take advantage of. But that's why everybody's moving to Florida, and the fact that we have a governor, not to be political, that just wants freedom and what the people want, and that's kind of it. Miami supports Bitcoin 100%. Our Latinos down here live all under socialism, whether that be from Cuba, mostly from Cuba. They're very much the opposite of what you think. They're very much red people. They're anti-socialist. They're very much, about family. Good people. We just got a nice thing going in our state, and a lot of big companies. Like Tyco's been here for 40 years, something like that. A lot of big companies taking advantage of the taxes. California is great. I heard for property tax, that's the only thing that's insane. Like, it's very low there. But every other thing, I mean, you make $200,000, you're barely scraping away in California. Plus, now you have massive crime. You have a huge exodus of people out of there. It's a very poorly run state. So you have to look at the states that are run well and the GDP of each state and how we do business. And so people are attracted to us. So currently.
That's fantastic, and yeah, because I actually you're going to be getting a new Aussie there in Miami. You're going to be getting a lady called Ash Barty. If some of you know tennis, she's actually buying a house in Miami. She's going to be supporting her partner, who's trying his hand at the golf to be a pro golfer there in the US circuit. So you'll be. She's going to be adding to the people moving into Miami.
Love it. We're an international city for sure now. Trust me. If you can't find something you like in Miami, there's something wrong with you.
Plus, you have also got this massive great attraction now called the Crypto Ball, the Miami Ball. So,
yes.
Did you get a picture with him, Matt?
You know what was funny? It was so many people waiting in line, I didn't even bother because I said, you know what, next time I'm down there anyway, which is a lot. Just go grab a picture. Take me 2 seconds.
Nice.
But yeah, it's really cool to have the conferences here. And I know a lot of NFT projects I'm involved in are actually, everybody's talking Miami as like the center for South America and for Europe. It's the fairest, they're thinking. So anyway.
Well, I think I've told you, I think I shared last week, Klaus from DigiShares and I made a pact that next year's Bitcoin conference, we've made a pact to be there. So it's looking forward.
I'll be there too, for sure. You got my word. I'll have to fly in from Puerto Rico or Portugal. I'll be there.
That's great. So just to sort of wrapping up, Matt, so from your perspective, you see tokenized real estate playing a part in your portfolio, growing in your portfolio in sort of years to come? Is that somewhere where you can park profits in? Or?
Certainly. I just believe in diversification, number one. And number two, I bet on the jockey. I don't bet on the project. I bet on the jockey. And I've said this to BRIK already. You can see the passion that BRIK has. He has the same passion that I have when I wake up at 4 in the morning by myself, no alarm, and just ready to go, put my shit on, do what I have to do. BRIK has the same passion. He's always seems to be thinking about ways to do it this or ways to do that. And in Italian, we have a word, we say furbo, which it translates to clever, but it's a similar translation. But it's just thinking of always on your craft, and like trading's my craft, this is his craft. And the fact that he has so much passion and was smart enough to mint Koala on ETH first, which I thought was brilliant. It wasn't cheap, but I thought that was brilliant. And the fact of listening to him many times and speaking to him, I think it's going to be a part of everyone's portfolio. I think people are going to be bragging almost like their blue check mark on Twitter, saying, hey, I own, 50 shares of whatever home in Indonesia. Check out this. And then show their friends pictures. It's going to become the whole thing. And their friends are going to say, bullshit. Well, look, here's my NFT. Yeah. Here it is. Boom, on the blockchain. Yeah. So here's mint scan. Here you go. Here is when I bought it. Here's when it went through. I saved it. Like that. That's what people don't understand. That's what the blockchain changes. There's no bullshit. Everybody, they take their pictures in front of a cool car that they're walking by in the city, and they pretend it's theirs. They put it up on Instagram. They get 74 likes, makes them feel good for 3 hours. Then they got to go find another car they could do it with. This, you could call out the guy and say, you don't own that. So-and-so does. I looked at the blockchain. You're full of shit. It's just a public ledger where it's a no bullshit ledger. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think people need to think of that. Just imagine, and then your mind goes anywhere. I mean, you think of boats and this and that, and so condos. You don't want to buy the whole thing. Well, I'll tokenize it 4 tokens, and I'll split it with 4 people. Yeah,
it's unlimited. But thank you for those nice words. Yeah. Thank you for those nice words, Matt. Really appreciate that, Matt.
Of course.
I totally agree with in terms of it's look that. It's up to your imagination, because it's here. There's the tools. It's up to people's imaginations what they do with it, and it's so unlimited, really, what you can do with it. And some of the stuff that we've got on our roadmap that we'll share as we go along. Some of the things that obviously been wrapping around my brain that again it just adds to the things we're doing. That it just adds value, and again it's. I'm not an artist, but it's like an artist having a blank canvas is where we are with blockchain. It's up to people to paint their own picture, and share that picture with people. And I guess that's what we're doing here today. It's just sharing that knowledge in terms of what can be achieved, what can't be achieved. And you never say you can't be achieved. There's always a way to achieve. And that's the beauty about having a great community that we have here, the Ravencoin community. And obviously trying to bring people on to be aware of what's happening and share the journey and get on the journey with us. And I guess this is where what we're doing at Braveland as well on this weekend. And hopefully you all can make it because and share what's happening so we can actually share with people who are in the Raven community as well as outside the Raven community to see what's actually happening in terms of the diversity of the chain, with NFTs and movies, music, properly, and all the different type of wine. There's also a wine project, which I'm still trying to get a hold of the founder of that wine project to come on actually on to Braveland to tell us about what the wine's about. So again, it's some great things happening, and I think Braveland's a great avenue to everybody come together as a community and to provide awareness.
That damn administrator, though, that guy can't get his microphone fixed. He's the administrator of Braveland. What a jerk. But you know what I did very well? I delegated to Philly. I was smart enough to say, Philly, do you want to be admin C? And he was like, sure. Okay. Well, because he's an IT guy, I don't know shit about IT, but Tron's like, do you want to do it? I was like, okay, sure. So that's kind of how I got into that. But yeah, Philly, you can talk to him. He can do everything on there.
He's the expert. So, but yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, look, we'll try to wrap it up now. Like, I know we had a few glitches trying to expand, and I really wanted to sort of pick Matt's brain in terms of what he's doing, and I really appreciate the Matt for your time to share with us your knowledge, your experiences, and your journey. And,
my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it, mate. But,
thank you for having me. Thanks, guys.
And thank you all. Thank you all for JC Market. Dejan, Xander, and the people that came on today. So really appreciate you guys coming on and supporting the show, because again, this is we put this with it's about to provide education and awareness in terms of what's happening with real estate tokenization, and obviously we have special guests like Matt to share their journey and what they're doing from a property perspective as well. And but yeah, look, really appreciate your time. Have a great day and stay safe. Bye for now.
Thanks, guys. Take care.